There's a lot of shame. There's a lot of shame in not being able to do all the things that you used to be able to do, of meeting everybody else's expectations and not being able to meet them. For 54 years, every time I looked in the mirror, I saw a failure. The reason? A procrastination habit that I just couldn't break. A habit that honestly just buried me in a mountain of shame. I was convinced I was lazy, broken, and fundamentally flawed. It wasn't until a late diagnosis that I finally understood that my brain isn't broken, just different. And that single realization has enabled me to break free from the thoughts that I had that spiraled downwards for year upon year. This is my story. Hi, I'm Michelle. I was diagnosed with autism and ADHD at the age of 54. And this is how I'm learning how to live life on the spectrum. From my earliest memories, the one thought plagued me. What's wrong with me? I always felt like a square peg in a round hole, and I just didn't understand why I couldn't do some of the things that people around me seemed to find so easy. And yet there was plenty of things that I could do that they found difficult. So it kind of just plagued me. Why can't I do what looks simple, but I can do hard things? What's wrong with me? The simplest task felt like climbing a mountain. My mind would either race with hundreds of thoughts, lots of things that I should be doing, need to do, have to do, but I just couldn't get started. That's called task paralysis. Teachers said I had potential. My parents wondered why they were getting different reports. Some, saying that I was really good at certain things, and others just saying that I wasn't applying myself, or I wasn't trying hard enough. I just thought it was a personal failing, that maybe I was lazy, maybe I was broken. When it came to homework, we had a routine and I had to go and sit at my desk and do my homework, and I would just sit there staring at a blank page and I just couldn't get started. My sister would be working hard on her homework and I just avoided it like the plague because it was too hard and I just couldn't do it, and it was just sending me down this spiral of shame. So I avoided it as much as I possibly could and never handed in homework. In fact, there was one piece of homework that I finally did do, and it was because it was in a subject that I absolutely loved, and that was ancient history. I ended up submitting a 12-page report on something that was only supposed to be 4 pages, and I think my teacher passed me for the whole year based on that one report because she was in such shock that I'd actually completed any homework at all. That's the interest-based brain, right? Eventually, the shame of not doing the thing became way worse than the task itself, trapping me in a vicious cycle. As I got older, this pattern cemented itself into my identity. I was that person whose house was always a mess, who seemed disorganised, messy, untidy. I changed from one hobby to the next. I'd start one project and never finish it. And it was all just another piece of evidence that I was broken and that something was wrong with me. I built a fortress of excuses, of self-deprecating humour to hide what I really thought. That I was just less than everybody else. Socially, I felt out of sync. I was told that I should be friendly and I should do this and I should do that. And as a kid, I was like that. I was friendly, I was outgoing. And yet, when I look back on that, I was doing what I was told. Once I had the option of not doing what I was told, I didn't like doing it. I didn't want to do it, but I still did it. I still put on the mask that I know now it was a mask, and I still did all the things that were expected of me, that I'd learned were expected of me, but at a cost. It was all exhausting, and underneath it all was this constant feeling that I wasn't enough. For decades, I managed to tread water, to keep my head above it all. I came up with loads of different coping strategies, all powered by that last minute brain that we know so well. I'm on a timeline, got to get it done. Well, that's the only time I can. But these coping mechanisms that I used over the years just stopped working when perimenopause hit and my estrogen started to drop. The hormonal changes meant that all of the symptoms that I had been experiencing and that I had been covering and that I had been masking started to exacerbate, started to creep up there, and started to become a bigger problem, bigger than Ben-Hur. The water I'd been treading for so long started to creep in over my head, and I wasn't coping anymore. It wasn't just feeling overwhelmed. It wasn't just exhaustion. It was a complete system shutdown. I later learned the term for it is autistic burnout. My ability to function just stopped. The procrastination wasn't about difficult tasks anymore. It was about everything. Answering an email felt impossible. Still feels impossible. I'm not going to tell you how many emails I've got there that are unanswered. They're on my very long to-do list. Making a phone call felt monumental. Still feels monumental. My brain felt like and now feels like in burnout, like I've got 1,000 tabs open. And I can't shut them down. And if I put them aside, I know I'm going to forget something, and so I keep them open. But then they sit there taunting me, harassing me, telling me what I haven't done, what I don't do, what I can't do. And it just adds to the overwhelm. There's a lot of shame. There's a lot of shame in not being able to do all the things that you used to be able to do, of meeting everybody else's expectations and not being able to meet them, of feeling like you're letting people down. There's so much shame. But I keep trying. I keep forcing myself to keep going. To try and get all the things done. And I praise myself for all the small wins that I make along the way. If that feeling of being perpetually stuck, of constantly fighting your own brain resonates with you, please know you're not alone. If this story is hitting home, then consider subscribing. I'm trying to build a community here for people like me, people who are just starting to ask these big questions themselves and looking for answers. Starting the search for answers was actually quite terrifying. I started down the road of what was medically wrong with me. And a lot of people I've heard now start thinking along those same lines too, is it dementia? Because of the whole memory loss thing, the skill regression thing. But the exhaustion and everything else that ties in with it. And tell me whether or not, please tell me whether or not you share this experience, going to the doctor and the doctor telling you that it's probably just perimenopause, it's just your hormones, or you just need rest. And then, you walk away and you think, well, what's rest? How do I even do that? I'm still really bad at that. I'm still very, very bad at rest. Because rest for someone who's neurotypical means that you take time out. Well, my brain does not ever take time out. When I wake during the night, my brain switches on and it won't switch off. So I don't sleep very well. I mentioned that in my last video. Maybe you want to go back and watch that one. There's a lot that happens inside my brain, and that's where the hyperactivity out of the ADHD title comes. My brain is on 24/7 and I can't switch it off. So every time I've gone to the doctor says it's anxiety, it's depression, it's situational, what do they call it? Generalized anxiety disorder. Yeah, thanks. No, it wasn't, and it never was those things. There was anxiety, absolutely, but the anxiety was related to me being neurodivergent, trying to fit into a neurotypical world and not fitting. The support that I needed not being provided. The words that I said being misunderstood. All of that just served to break me and make me feel shame for not being able to meet a measure that my brain just can't. Since my diagnosis, I've been discovering who I really am and what that means for me. In burnout, I'm trying to find ways to help me rest, to help me recover. And I don't know whether that's possible. And where I thought over time I'd start improving, things are actually getting worse. They're not improving. I'm either flatlining or things just aren't as easy as I thought they should be by now. Maybe I expect too much. Maybe it's the perfectionism in me. The reality is, burnout is teaching me a lot about myself. And I still, even though I say it a lot here, that you've got to be kinder to yourself. You've got to accept where things are and, show yourself compassion. And I do that more often than I used to, but I'm still not great at that. And I still sometimes judge myself too harshly and expect far too much from myself. Because at the end of the day, I know I'm not alone, and nor are you. The diagnosis was a period of grief for me and also relief of finally feeling heard and seen, but then from there also feeling very unseen and very misunderstood. It's hard, but the journey isn't over. I'm unlearning a lifetime of negative self-talk. And I talked like that to myself for year upon year upon years upon years upon decades. And it's going to take some time for me to unravel all of that and start playing the nicer words inside that tape in my head. And it takes acknowledging what those words are, recognizing them when they happen, and changing that self-talk. And that's a day-by-day thing for me. Sometimes it's an hour-by-hour thing. But it is. I'm a work in progress. If you've been on a similar path or my story has sparked something in you, please share your story in the comments. Help me feel less alone and the rest of the community so that we can all understand we're not alone, we're not broken, we're learning to live life on the spectrum. And yes, we can do it. Thanks for being here.